morning, Mike Gage,
Happy Friday.
and happy episode 15.
Wow. Another day. It's nice and balmy out. And
I was thinking about going for a swim in the river later.
geez, yeah, I had to break ice this morning for the horses, so I guess it's time to plug in
The heater.
the heaters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking forward to this next couple weeks and get this show on the road.
Oh, I'm sure. It's coming down to that last mile.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm in the doghouse today anyway, so it's good to get it down here today. So Leanne had been out hauling horses this week in Canada and Washington, and I knew she was getting in late last night, and figured about 1 o'clock, somewhere between 12 and 1 o'clock, and of course I go to bed at like 10 o'clock. Last night I stayed up late for me, and
way past your bed.
yeah, I wake up at 1:30 and I can see that she's home, but she's not in the house, and I figure she's doing something with horses, and then I wake up at 3 and she's still not in the house, and anyway, come to find out this morning I'd locked her out of the house last night. So yeah, so she had to sleep in a cold horse trailer that the heat, eventually I'm sure it warmed up, but it was good to get out of the house this morning when she rolled in at like 7:45 and just had this look on her face like, you locked me out of the house last night, the coldest night of the year so far, and I made her sleep outside. So
I think it's time to get her a house key, Mike.
well, I don't even know if I have a house key, so
It's time to give her the code.
yeah, something. Yeah.
Something, man.
Oops. Yeah. I was kind of like, well, why didn't you bang on the window or something? I'm like, because I didn't hear the dogs, because the dogs are.
They'll bark.
Yeah, and so she just went. She found the cat outside and took the cat in a horse trailer, I guess, to help keep her warm, and it was good to get out of the house this morning before I really face the full wrath of that.
Yeah. I think when you come home, you should bring a little gift box with a bow.
I'll probably just go get her a nice
That has a
big
house key
cup
on it.
of coffee or something and beg for forgiveness. But she's got to leave again today because she goes to, I think the top 12 barrel racers in Montana in the rodeo circuit all compete tomorrow and somewhere by Billings, I think. So she's got to go to that today. So yeah, hopefully she has a little better life, doesn't lock herself out of a horse trailer or something. So
Interesting story. But,
yeah, it happens. Oops.
it's kind of funny in a way.
It is, or it was. I mean, it's kind of funny. It wasn't funny when I was around here. It was funny when I was driving down here this morning because I couldn't get in trouble. But we had a good week. I don't remember the days now. I think Monday we went to the Silver Bow Tavern Association
Saw that
meeting.
post,
Yeah,
that went well?
Oh, it went great. Yeah. Well, it went great for my pocket too. So, ended up winning the Calcutta. That event there. So I ended up with a couple seats in the Calcutta, and I ended up winning a total of $1,700 for that night. So yeah, it was good. A lot of supporters there, so it was good. Boy, I can't remember what else we had. And then we've got the Grange meeting next Monday here in Divide.
Yep.
And then we've got the forum at Butte Central on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the following weeks we've got Treat Street coming up and putting out some more door hangers, and so we're getting out there. And then of course we had the big breaking news yesterday.
There was some breaking news yesterday.
Yeah, so hey.
Why don't you tell us all about this? Do we need to do the sound effect for breaking news?
Oh my God.
Dun, 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 dun.
So back in, it had to have been, I'm guessing May, right before it was a couple of weeks, maybe a week or two before the primary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the exact date. Towards the end of May, and I got a call from Emmanuel Security, Kane Fisher, and said that they were supporting me, and he wanted me to be on one of his ads, where he was going to say, I was going to introduce myself, and he was going to say that they're supporting me, and of course it was paid for by Emmanuel Security, and he runs ads there all the time. So it was my understanding at the time was because it wasn't in conjunction with our campaign or anything our campaign was doing, that we didn't need to report it. and of course we didn't report it, and I never got to hear the ads. I haven't even heard my ads that I have running now. You know, I listen to XM radio, so
Right.
so I like to listen to my country music and nonstop without
Commercials.
And so we
and hearing political ads.
yeah, that's the last thing I want to hear. Yeah, that's a good thing. Other than TV, I don't really hear any political ads.
Oh, that's a constant stream
yeah,
now, even
and,
on YouTube.
You know,
and
and I'm part of it, so it's one of those things you got to do.
Yep,
And
it is.
I hate it, but you got to
tool
do
of
it.
the trade.
Yeah. So you got to give Lester credit. He knew or believed it was a violation, and he just sat on it until.
So what was a violation about a private business paying
Well,
for an ad
so
for you?
so I really didn't know until I talked to the commissioner yesterday morning, Chris Gallus, originally from Butte, Montana, and because I didn't really know. And when they first notified us of the sheriff's complaint, we sent in a letter because I didn't know. I hadn't talked to Kane about that or anything. So I went in, and Kane's like, "Oh yeah, we're still running the ad," and I'm like, "Oh good Lord." And you know, Kane's like, "Yeah, I made up my own yard signs, and I made up my own magnets, and
So it all stems from that person with
yeah,
the yard sign.
it's all that thing right there."
Okay.
And so we responded. You know, we didn't have anything to do with this. It wasn't in conjunction with my campaign. Didn't have anything to do with my campaign. It was a private individual or their business supporting me.
Right.
And there are apparently steps that they need to follow if they're going to do that well, and they have to file with the state as well as like a political action committee or something. I'm not really sure how it works. But anyway, when I talked to Chris yesterday, he explained that, you know, technically I should have put that on my report each month that ad was running, which
I see.
I couldn't have because I didn't even know the ad was running, but I should have put it on there, and it would have been an in-kind donation, meaning that I didn't receive money, you know, but I got something out of it.
Right.
And so, you know, in talking to him, I'm like, yeah, but, you know, I still didn't agree. Because I'm like, we didn't have anything to do with this. Because he goes, but there was some coordination. And I'm like, well, explain that, because I don't know how we coordinated with him. And he said, well, you did go down and let him meet at the radio station to film your voice, you're part of it, you know, or I said I'm Mike Gage, whatever. So at that point, that's when I'm like, okay, that makes sense, you know.
Right.
So technically, even though we didn't have an intent to do anything wrong, we did coordinate, and so therefore it should have been listed as a in-kind contribution. The second issue with that would be that they're only allowed $450 per election cycle for a donation or in-kind gift. So they exceeded that limit, and I don't know what the total is. It's not. He said that they had a contract, but he's not looking at the contract in full because they stopped their commercials. They still had to pay, so he's not going to include the ones that didn't run, even though King was charged for them. No, super nice guy, and he explained it. So you know, at the end there'll be a fine, and we'll
move on.
Yeah, we'll pay the fine and whatever that is, and move on. So, you know, we didn't know. You know, we're new at this. We're learning. You
Right.
know,
and your opponent probably picked up on it because he's done many campaigns.
Oh, yeah.
He knows the
yeah, well, yeah,
nuances of
knowing,
them.
yeah.
He's probably made those mistakes. I mean, those are probably pretty common mistakes.
Well,
for
according
a
to
candidate.
the commissioner, it happens frequently.
Yeah, I'm
so,
sure it does. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's such a minor oversight. I mean, you know, you've got quite the Watergate scandal going, Mike.
Yeah, I know. You
How
know,
dare-
what are you gonna do? Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah, you know, but it was funny because yesterday I knew it was coming out at some point yesterday. I didn't know when.
Right.
But boy, let me tell you, when it came out, I knew right away because the Standard called, the KXLF texted me, NBC Montana texted me, And I'm like, wow, you know,
No
everybody
such
at
thing
the
as bad press.
yeah, everybody at the same time was watching this political page
Yep.
to see if there was going to be anything filed today. You know, so
Yep.
yeah, that was a
Yeah,
that was
they're headhunting now.
yeah.
'cause
I mean,
it's
so
close to
yeah,
election.
so I think they may have been tipped off in a way that I'm sure they were sent the complaint. So
Well, the complaint was also posted on social media yesterday.
no, yeah, and
So
yeah, so
by I believe it was your opponent's
oh
party.
oh yeah,
So,
well,
or group
you know, and
campaign.
you know, what was funny was Sunday. I should have known something was coming on Sunday because we believed, you know, after the initial file or after the initial complaint, you know, Fisher's attorney or Emmanuel Security's attorney responded, you know, that they had made a mistake and that they apologized to myself and the sheriff, and so I really thought it was done because I'm like, we didn't do anything wrong. At that point, you know, their attorneys admitting that they did it and without my consent, and you know, well, I guess it was with my consent. I told them
They could run it.
they could run it. I just didn't know they were going to run it constantly, and I still didn't believe it was something we needed to report. But starting Sunday, I started getting these messages on Facebook where people were on my page, the opponent's supporters, talking about campaign fraud or campaign violations, and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? You know, why is this all of a sudden, you know, boom, boom, boom? And there was 3 people, I think, on, and then later on that day and into Monday, I started getting messages on there about me saying racist things and using racial epithets during the 4th of July parade. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, you guys just can't make up stuff. If I were to do something wrong, fine, say I did something wrong, you know, but number one, I'm not going to say anything racial in public or in my own house. And so I'm like, I had little kids with me in the parade. I had grade school kids with me in the parade. I had middle school kids with me in the parade. And I had high school kids with me in the parade. Plus, I had law enforcement officers walking in the parade with me.
I mean, we were with you. I didn't hear anything.
Oh, and who would say? I mean, who would? And then I started. Then it all came together. You know that this was
Of course, it's
kind
an
of
attack.
a planned attack.
It's an attack, yeah.
And I thought, you know, anybody with half a brain cell would know that if I had said anything during the 4th of July parade, they would have spread that all over social media on the 4th of July. It would have went, but nothing happens all the month of July, August, September, and then 2 weeks before the election, people, and who in their right mind would say anything derogatory during a parade? And nobody in their right mind would. But I'm like, okay, if that's the tactics that we're gonna do, we're gonna.
You know, the closer you get to the 5th of November, the uglier the mudslinging gets.
Well,
and not necessarily, it doesn't have to be on your campaign's part, but clearly, you know, your opponent's starting to take the gloves off a little bit because he's getting there. I mean, all it takes is one person in his camp to say. I mean, he might not even know, right? This could be somebody trying to help him. I heard Mike say a derogatory comment about, you know, Martians. I don't know. You know, and then he's like, oh, did you? Go ahead and go with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's ridiculous. We were with you the entire parade.
Well, so was, I mean, I've got all these
and
little
so was
kids
like
in
150 other people. I've never, you know, you can unpack this all day. The point is, nothing says character assassination in a campaign like racism.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a tool that is beaten to death in this modern age, with people from actors to singers to
I'm like,
politicians.
What did I say,
it's
who did
suicide
I
thing.
say it to?
Right.
Nobody will answer
Well,
because they can't, because nothing was said to anybody.
It's a great silver bullet for assassinating someone's character.
You throw out this
Even if it's
racist.
BS.
Yeah.
Right.
It's where we are in politics today, so I'm definitely not going to stoop that low. But
no, that's ridiculous. I mean, whatever. I just let that go and lean out the other.
It was. I
BS.
just let him post on it. And you know, yesterday even on the news, I'm like, you know, it's no different. My supporters jumping on his page are not going to change any votes. His supporters are his supporters. His supporters jumping on my page are not going to turn any of my supporters
No.
to him, irregardless of what they say. So it's, that's kind of a waste of time and
Right.
effort. But and if his supporters want to keep jumping on my page to listen to, to see what's being said, I'm all for that, because that boosts up my my followers. It boosts up my page likes. It boosts up my people going to my page. So the more traffic I get, the more advertising and I'm getting, and so.
Well, I'm sure they listen to the podcast too.
Oh yeah,
100%. Because there's things they've gotten from this that we only say here and not outside of the podcast. Yeah, I mean, look, the closer we get to November 5th, the more cheap shots come flying from the back.
I'm kind of done, for the most part with that, because the ballots are already out there. Most people, over half the people I think do mail-in ballots, and most people have got their ballot, filled it out, and sent it back in. So the chances of me changing somebody's opinion at this point are probably slim to none.
There's probably a marginal percentage of folks that are undecided still that are going to go to the polls on election day
and decide there.
And they decide there. There's always a certain marginal percentage, and that's fine too, right? Because you don't always know. Some people don't get out much, or they choose not to go to events to get to know the candidate, which is fine. I mean, it's not like you have to.
Yeah, I don't.
But with not social media, but just with the internet now, you can read a lot about a candidate or a person now and find out how they vote in the past, where their ideology lies, and that'll help you form a better opinion.
Right.
It's kind of like your opponent's commercial that he put out, which was basically firing at you and your supporters. He's trying to do his end of it now. It's probably, I think largely that was a response to your commercial, and because he mentions it in his commercial, your commercial. So that was a response, and of course he's going to respond. That's politics. I mean,
right.
I wouldn't have expected him not to. But this is just the way the game is played, and at the end of the day, one thing he pleads for in his commercial is paraphrasing, of course, me, I've been with the department 35 years, vote for me, but vote your conscience. It's kind of a vote your conscience, but vote for me.
Right.
I found that kind of funny in a way, but I get what he's saying. But it's like it's the accusations made in that commercial that there's not these issues going on in town, and it's a utopia, and this has all been prefabricated by all of us.
Right. Well, I mean, everybody knows Tattoo Face Willie.
Right.
In town too. That doesn't mean we want to vote for him for sheriff.
Well,
so
I think he should work for the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good greeter, and he greets everybody. Well, I think he's in jail now, but I think
this week he's back in the
yeah,
country. Is there room for him?
Yeah.
Maybe he's a greeter at the jail.
No, I think he messed up. Well, he always messes up at the end. He gets back out, and that's just cycle. Well, let's break down that video a little bit. So I know you.
I got 10. We can do a rapid fire 10 questions or 10 argument points from Ed Lester to Mike Gage.
Okay, let's shoot. Let's do them.
All right, let me find this thing here. So, with that being said, though, there is a problem here, and you can't mask that just by saying we've been friends 35 years. Vote for me. That just doesn't really work. I mean, I understand why he said it. If I was in his shoes, I'd probably do that too.
Well, the whole this fear mongering. These weren't things I said. These were his officers are saying it. Yeah. These are his but let me rephrase that. These are my cronies that are saying that are also his senior officers. So yeah, I mean, you take that for what it's worth, so we can, but if you got it pulled up, I know you made a list, so.
Well, I figured those of us that are Mike Gage supporters and campaign, volunteers, we, and even just your general voters out there, I think would like to hear an answer to some of the accusations and points that Mr. Lester had made.
Let's shoot. Let's do it.
And just so you know, Ed did use the C word where he said cops, and that's a no-no because it's law enforcement officers.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we got our hand slapped for that one. So
I just want to point that out that he used the C word during that. So.
The cops.
Anyways, all right. So number one on the rapid fire list of this is your own debate here.
Okay.
Without him being here, I guess. So during the commercial, Ed Lester stated that this is the weirdest campaign that he's ever been involved in, and to go on and expand on that a little bit, he's alluding to the accusations, and he said past candidates were all good, honest, C-word alert, cops, and who wanted to be the best, who wanted the best for it, not to be the best, but who wanted only the best for the community, and ran honest, issue-based, ethical campaigns.
Well, we're definitely running ethical. We haven't done anything unethical or said anything unethical. We're just speaking the truth of what his officers are telling us. Those officers that ran in the past were limited on what they could do or what they could say because they were officers in that department.
Yeah, they were on the hook.
Yeah, so they had to be very, very careful on and not put down the department or not say anything derogatory or negative about what was going on within the department because then they would be retaliated against.
100%.
And they were forced out eventually anyway, or left, just because it got so bad you can't run against him and be in that department and stay there, So, as far as it probably is the weirdest campaign, if this is he's really, last year he didn't have anybody, so, he's probably had a couple of elections where officers ran against him or something, but
he ran unabated last night.
yeah, so it's not like they could go in there and say or do what they wanted to do or what they wanted to say because then they would be retaliated against. So
yeah, I'm sure that's a 800-pound elephant in the room.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I think the previous one from the previous sheriff, they threw a guy in or arrested a guy just a couple of weeks or a week before the election when he was running for insurance fraud.
I wonder how he was doing in the election.
I don't know. Who knows? But he got arrested and then he was acquitted of it. So
so he got it. Yeah.
So that was a done deal. But let's go to number 2.
Okay. So in his commercial, bringing public awareness of Mike Gage, he accuses you of dealing in fear, lies, misdirection, along with campaign finance violations.
Well, we covered the campaign finance violation part. The lies and misdirection, I have no idea
I can only imagine it's the awareness that you brought forth about the jail overcrowding, the policies and procedures, probably some of our guests that have been on here talking about some of the shady behavior of the department.
That's them talking. That's not me talking. So again, those are people that experienced it firsthand. Something, did he say fear mongering there or something?
That's later.
That's later.
Yeah,
okay.
That's a couple down the list.
Yeah, I don't know what the fear is. I'm telling the truth. I've had people that are getting on my page lately who say, "Oh, well, the cartel's not in Butte." That's a lie.
Well, he admitted.
Well, he admitted they are. So that's why I said it. So, well, the sheriff says they are. The drug task force says they are. The DEA says they are.
All the people walking around twitching and tweaking says that they are.
Yeah. So that doesn't
help.
Yeah, I have no idea what he's talking about on misdirection or lies or whatever.
It's probably directly to do with him as his department's morale is in the toilet. That's been duly noted. That hasn't been Mike Gage created. That was come forth by people that work there, individuals, officers.
Yeah, that's been going on for a long time.
So that's probably all under the misdirection thing. And your fear mongering, I took that as him, accusing you of trying to stir up the public,
I think that was in reference to Dan's comment about being a hair's breadth away from. But they are. I mean, when the cartel takes over, you're not going to run. You don't have the resources to get rid of them.
Yeah. I mean, I took that he says that to you about how there's a. We'll get to that.
Okay.
But and to comment on that, I don't think that what Dan meant by that was it's going to look like Baghdad.
Right.
That, during the invasion, a breakdown of civil society means like the crime rate is skyrocketing.
And the crime rate is skyrocketing. We don't have room in the jail for them. We don't have
so where are you
staffing.
gonna put
We
them?
don't have police officers. So
it'll just be a bottleneck, and it'll look like some other larger cities that have constant problems, like a Chicago or
Baltimore.
Baltimore, yeah.
Right.
So that's I think what Dan was talking about with that, not an invasion.
You're right. Not the
Not cartel starts bringing paratroopers in.
No.
So, all right. So, you, according to Ed Lester, promised promotions and have made ridiculous accusations since March. You've had help from a couple of his current officers, this is paired in with that, who have been promised promotions by you for undersheriff, and the other for chief deputy, which doesn't exist, accusing you of offering promotion-based bribes.
Yeah, that's a good one. So that would be like Kamala Harris promoting Tim Walsh from governor to vice president.
Well said.
That happens in every single election. He knows that. When you get elected as sheriff, you put those people in place that you want in your command staff to help you run the department. It happens every election in every sheriff's department. He did the same thing. He brought in somebody to be his undersheriff. The previous sheriff brought in people to be their undersheriff. This is nothing new. This is the way that elections have been done within the sheriff's departments for over 100 years.
It's not just a sheriff's department. That happens in any elected position when you have a administration staff that you're responsible for. They always
there's a shakeup, and
they always
clean
the table off and bring in new.
Same way with a new CEO of a company. They come in and they promote the people that they want to help them run the company. That's how it's supposed to be done.
Yep.
New bribes? No.
Well, the bribery was in the tail of offering promotions for. For their help and their information.
That's absolutely incorrect. There was never a bribe. Matter of fact, it wasn't until what was it, August, or probably when I asked Dan, Dan was a vocal supporter of ours when I asked him to be chief deputy, and that's right, that position doesn't exist right now. We're going to make it exist. I'm not going to say how right now. I will say the money's already there. It's already budgeted. It's already in the budget. We will reallocate some of that money, and how it's currently being spent now. We will get rid of the comp time. These are salaried employees. They're not supposed to be getting comp time every month for being on call or whatever. That's their job. They cash this out every quarter. That alone pays for another officer's salary, just in the amount of comp time the administration's using right now, and they're not supposed to have access to it. So again, there's things we're going to change. We've got some great ideas that are going to go in and save money for the department, and none of this is going to cost anyway. We don't. The amount of money they have is plenty, even when they get full staffed. They waste a lot of money on things that they don't need to, and a lot of that's overtime issues and things like that we can correct February 1st, because the schedule's already going to be out on one of the issues in January, and so we can't really go in and change that, but we'll have a new schedule for dispatch and things like that come February 1, and that's going to save thousands and thousands of dollars every single month.
Right. I'm sure there's plenty of earmarked, allocated funds that can be redirected, and that always happens when a new candidate wins. You get new leadership, is the entire map gets redrawn.
Right.
That's very common in every, not just the law enforcement elections, but all politics.
Right. You go in there and you say, this is where we need to put the money, and this
it's
this
your
is
turn
where
to
we
be
need
the
to focus
CEO.
on. This is where my folks in. I need money for crime prevention. I need money for neighborhood watches. I need money for
all these different.
I need money. I will have a lot more overtime on patrol-wise, probably for drug interdiction and things like that. But that money's all being wasted right now in dispatch and in the jail. I mean, the amount of overtime there is, it would blow your mind.
Right. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, Mike, as a voter and a citizen, it doesn't matter to me what you retitle somebody. It doesn't matter to, I mean, the sheriff's department is not, the police department, it's not a Black Friday sale where we're getting a good deal on the TV. So cost is, unless taxes go up, right? I mean, significantly, people aren't even going to care about what you do with your budget. You will then be the new CEO of the police department, basically.
Right.
And CEOs restructure the company. That's just what they do. Whether it's Pepsi, whether it's Butte Silverbow PD, or Ford Motor, they restructure the company to make it more efficient with their mind and what they see it for the future.
Right, their vision.
Your vision.
Right, what I have to do to make my vision come true, and this is where we'll spend the money, and
that's it.
Yeah, I mean, in the union, bypassing union. Well, no, see, that's also not true. So those officers would retire. They would no longer be part of the union,
right?
And then they would be rehired after the
admin,
first as admin positions. So we wouldn't be jumping.
No,
I mean,
there's no rank to be jumped.
That was pure misdirection on his part. I mean, that was
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely, that was pure misdirection.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, to speak to this again too, most folks don't care about job titles that you create or Ed creates. Even if Ed was to create a chief deputy, or you or him,
nobody's gonna care.
Nobody cares. I don't care. It makes no difference to me. Period. If you create a position called Supreme Intergalactic Commander. It's something weird, right? I mean, who cares? As long as you guys are getting results,
right? Crime
is going down, the drug problem is getting handled, the homeless problem is getting handled. Then I don't really care if how it's structured. Just get the result.
Right.
That's what most voters want. People have busy lives. They're not trying to get wrapped up in the minute details of what somebody's title is in the sheriff's department. They don't care.
Right.
I mean, if they do, they have too much time in their hands. But that's fine. Point is, just get results.
Right. That's what the citizens want. Get the crime off the street. Get these drug houses shut down, and we can argue and make up stories about other things, but in the end, this is what the citizens want, and it's not being done right now.
And this is what's going to win this election too. Is the promise of results.
Right.
I know he's got a lot of followers on Facebook, and I'm sure he has a lot of friends and family. He's been here his whole life, so I get it. But I'm telling you right now, I think that he's scared, right? He's concerned. I don't want to say scared, but concerned about the election outcome, as he should be. And there is a ton of folks that we interact with on a regular that are. I don't sit there and stir up the Mike Gage pep rally or the bandwagon. It just, the election's coming. People talk about not just your election, all the other ones.
Right.
And I'm telling you right now, there's no BS involved. A ton of folks want change in the sheriff's department.
And it may not, it may not be enough for us to win. It may be enough for us to win. What I would hope that if we don't win, that he takes away from it is, look at all these people that I thought supported me,
better job, right?
That aren't thinking I'm doing a good job. And I told somebody the other night, had he tried to make a change back in March or April when we first started, and I saw, and everybody's like, wow, it's so much better now that you're running, we're on the right track. I probably would have said, okay, good, that's what I wanted to have happen, and I would have walked away.
Right.
And it's just now it's at the point where they're standing their ground, they're not going to make any changes, they're not going to work on the morale, they're not worried about the drug problem, and so obviously nothing is going to change if they win. So now we got to do everything we can to make sure that we come out on top so we can make these changes for the people.
100%. Well, like we've talked about before, let's just say hypothetically, in the off chance that he wins. I've said politics are a marathon, not a sprint. So if he does, it's going to be by a thin margin. And that guard's time in Butte is coming to an end. 100%.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So if not now,
it will be the next
time.
election.
A lot of those old boys are they're not going to be able to stop the progress that's coming, no matter what they throw at it or how they bend the law to try to get candidates in the grease or how they try to control the narrative for the town. 100%. It's coming to an end.
Yeah, in 4 years
it'll be a different
if they win
landscape.
this one in 4 years, it will definitely be different.
And
it won't be me, but it'll be somebody else.
And Mike Gage will be running again.
No, I won't. I've had my fill of elections, learned a lot, and respect the people that put their time and effort into the election process and the campaigning, and it's a lot more work than what you could ever imagine. And
I'm sure it's a constant.
Yeah, you're constantly being pulled in different directions, and you constantly have meetings, and you're out putting up signs, you're out talking to people, and it takes a toll on you mentally, physically. So, when I talk to a lot of people there, and everybody's at this point just, I wish I could just wake up tomorrow and November 5th would be here and it'd be done.
It's getting there, brother.
Yeah. What's our next one?
All right. Moving down the list here. By promoting said officer to chief deputy, which is a higher rank.
We covered that one.
Oh yeah, but there's a caveat to that. So, which is a higher rank than everyone else, but the undersheriff, even though they're all admin. So it's not really a union rank, a union officer rank. He stated that you will basically, lower the morale of the other officers who have earned their promotions, which you had answered that by saying that it's not a union position and they're union officers. But if you want to unpack that a little bit, so people listening that might have taken his commercial to heart could say, hey, it's not going to crush morale. Morale's already crushed.
Morale's as low as it can go
it's
right
already
now.
Kicked in there.
And so the people that we speak to on a regular basis are looking forward to that change. That's all I'm going to say. And we speak to a lot of people within the department. So,
yep. No, that's I don't see a mass exodus because you make.
Nobody's going to leave because of that.
Because the Picasso was painted by Ed saying you take an officer who's basically, not to minimize all of his career, he's had a fantastic career and he's a great guy, but it's a lower ranked position, and you jump up all the way to the top of the. Now he's sitting at the King's Court. That's kind of what he's saying, is it's going to piss off everybody in between. And
I don't think that's going to happen. I think what's going to happen is. There'll be some people that are higher up in rank too that will also be jumped by people from lower ranks due to promotions and demotions.
Correct.
So
well said. Well, look, man. Even if I'm in your shoes, I'm gonna restructure the whole map. A lot of people aren't gonna have the same position that they started with. That's just how that works.
Right.
100%. This isn't Walmart where you get a new store manager and everybody stays the same because there's a corporate office. This is politics. And this is strategic politics, and you're doing this to make the department run more efficiently, and to offset a lot of the neglected positions that Ed has, neglected for years. So, all right, you ready for number 7?
Sure.
Gage and his cronies.
I did. Okay, so
are in a commercial that's based upon fear-mongering and predicting catastrophic failure. We need to put an echo effect in my voice when I do that. Catastrophic failure in our community.
So first off, those are his officers that he's calling cronies.
Right.
They're both long-term, I think 24 and 19-year officers of the department. I don't even think the word cronies is used in the right context there, but whatever. Again, when I say morale's low, it's stuff like that. You created the morale problem, and if you didn't believe me, it's when he starts calling his own officers' names, on his commercial.
It's another C word he used.
Yeah. So I mean, that's
that one.
I guess that one shocked me, and I kind of thought I actually kind of thought there was going to be another commercial or another Facebook Live where he corrected his terminology there, or apologized for it, because that one hurt. So I had a lot of people come up to me during the Silverboat Tavern Association, because that was the day that had come out, and say how disappointed they were in those comments, and that they were now going to vote for me because of the comments made. So I really kind of thought there would be an apology. You know, if you're going to say it in public, then apologize in public. You know, it's kind of the same reason yesterday. You know, we found out we made a mistake. You know, we owned up to it. I didn't hide from it. You know, I went and met with all the reporters face to face on camera. Right. Said, okay, we're going to abide by whatever the state says. We're going to work with them. We're going to work with the commissioner, and to do whatever we need to do to correct it. And you know, it's an honest mistake. We weren't aware we had done anything wrong. But if they say that we did, then by God, we're going to fix it, and we're going to own up to it. And I think there's another thing, you know, that when you make a mistake, and we all do. You know, we make them all the time. You know, own up to it, apologize for it, and make it right.
Transparency.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, just to comment on that's not, nobody really cares about that. I mean, look, that was nice of the security company to do that for you and everything, as far as in good faith, right? Because they're supporting you. But I mean, that didn't sweep the election for you. That didn't steer anything. That's just a little blurb. Yeah, I mean, that's not Watergate. Like I said, right. There was no you didn't bug, you know, Lester's house where you're getting inside campaign information like Richard Nixon's situation. Okay, that's not a big deal. That's not sinking. That's not sinking the Titanic. But you owned it nonetheless.
We made it, and we'll fix it.
I mean, that happens commonly. And you owned it on all medias, including the news. Yeah. So done, right? That's not fear mongering. That's not, lying. That's not misdirection. You owned it. Yeah, but it screwed up a little bit. It was a little blurred, whatever.
But that's what he's going to run on now, because he still doesn't have a plan.
That's all he's got.
Yeah, even on his radio show the other day, he didn't have a plan. I mean, they asked him, he doesn't have a plan for the drugs. He doesn't, we've got a plan, and we're going to put an end to this stuff. And let's go to the next one.
So we covered the crony comment, and the fear mongering and the catastrophic failure. I don't think you're fear mongering. I think that you're awareness mongering because we're stating things that are facts. I mean,
that was one of my cronies. That said that. Yeah, that was one of my cronies. That was one of your
So one of your henchmen.
Yeah.
So catastrophic failure in the community. I think we touched.
Again, that's just a breakdown and we had that. I mean, we don't have the mental health service because we have so many mental health issues. We don't have the jail space because we've got overcrowding. We've got detention with staffing problems. We got staffing problems everywhere. That causes problems. It's just a roller coaster effect, and that's I'm assuming that's all Murph was getting at is we're going to overload the system. Yeah. And because we're not taking care of the issues at hand.
And I think he was just making it sound like it's a house of cards.
Right.
And it will eventually be a worse problem than it is. There's no Sinaloa cartel paratroopers coming to invade us, so that's not what he meant by catastrophic failure. That's not fear-mongering. That's just him making a statement based on 24 years of his career and observation. He's an expert more than most folks. So if he says that he sees a catastrophic failure, I think you take it at face value of what he knows in the community. So listen to it.
He's born and raised here, so yeah. He's seen what's going on. He's been an officer for 24 years. He knows what's going on.
He knows as much and more than Ed does in this one. So let's call it what it is. All right. So then let's see. Butte people know BS when they see it, and he states that you and your cronies are covered in BS.
I guess that's his opinion, we can't. That was funny. I mean, again, he's saying his officers are full of BS. I mean, again, that's why morale's a problem. When your officers are saying there's problems and you're not believing them, and That's not a sign of a good leader. A good leader, if the officer's saying these are problems, we need to address these, and you're not willing to address them, then that's when morale starts tanking, and that's why it is where it is.
I would agree. Look, I mean, I think it's safe to say, Mike, that at this point, with his reaction to everything, is he's going into victim mode, and he's trying to play the lost damsel in the woods in that commercial. I'll say it because that's what he's doing. He's going in like, I run an ethical campaign, and I've run.
Really?
So he's he's just and politicians do that, especially when they're on the ropes.
Right.
And it doesn't need to get any uglier than it is, right? But there's still 3 weeks left, something like that. So I mean, we'll see what happens.
I forgot what you said. I had somebody. This just came up. So I saw somebody that said not to vote for me because I'm an evangelical Christian.
Are you?
Yeah. Well, so my first thought.
I mean, you're allowed to be.
My first thought was, I don't even know what that means.
I think that's a newer movement of born again Christians. They do a lot of tent revivals and
okay. So we'll set the record straight because nobody's ever asked me my religious beliefs or it's never come up. So I guess I could. I don't know. I was born and raised Catholic. So I went through catechism, all that. Sure. That's all I know. I don't care what religion anybody is.
You're allowed to be evangelical if you want.
I know, but I had to look it up, and I'm like, I still didn't understand. I'm like, what? And what does that have to do with why you wouldn't vote for somebody? And I'm not. I mean, if being Catholics and evangelical Christian, then that's what I am. I don't.
It's just a new term for a modern Christian, I guess. That's But the point is, I was raised Catholic too. What does that mean, right? You could be you're allowed to be a Muslim, or a Buddhist, or
I thought we could be whatever we wanted. I didn't,
because under the Constitution of the United States, there's a separation of church and state, and you could be whatever you want and run that law enforcement agency.
That was a new one for me. That was one that just popped up. That could have been a Sunday or a Monday.
I think that was a racist religion assault on you, Mike. It's religious racism.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I'm just. This is just where it's been heading since Sunday.
It's so ridiculous. Really, it's ridiculous.
And even really, I was getting all these messages. I'm like, I just want to watch football. It's Sunday. I want to watch football.
You need to watch the Chiefs.
Well, they had a bye week.
Oh, that's right. They did. That means their referees are off too.
Really? Come on. Yeah, deal with that. So
continue.
So I probably just lost votes there. So yes, people, I am a Chiefs fan. And born and raised, had season tickets.
You're allowed to be.
I've been to Arrowhead Stadium. I love that place, and you can be a fan of whatever team you want. I don't care, but when we play each other, I am rooting for the Chiefs. And
we don't have an NFL team, and that's okay. So you got to gather
around here. It's such a big group.
It's a mix.
I
see Pittsburgh Steelers table towels flying out of houses.
Denver,
I see
San Francisco, Green Bay,
Vikings,
Dallas. I'm
I saw Miami Dolphin flag.
Yeah.
I mean,
but hey,
whatever.
I can't vote for that guy because he likes this team. Well, what does that have to do with anything?
I'm a college.
So I'm a Royals fan too. So then
I like college football better, anyways. NFL sold out. That's another podcast. Continue. All right, so.
Where were we at?
Reader's Digest. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, did he bring this up?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, he brought it up in his commercial. This is all his commercial comments. Reader's Digest named Butte one of the nicest places in America, and Ed agrees.
So I read that, because I had seen it. Oh boy, a couple weeks ago, somebody posted to me on Butte 411 or something, and I was like, what? And so I had to go read it. And I think the point of it was the views and the people. And I think that we would all agree that from that standpoint, from the views and the people of Butte, the majority of the people in Butte, that we would all agree with that. I mean, the people here are wonderful. I mean, it is.
Agreed.
It is. you just couldn't ask for a better group of people and nicer people that would just
very supportive.
Yeah, that was one of the first things that hit me when I moved here was when somebody would lose a house without insurance and whatever, the people of this community would come together
and rally,
and
100%.
Yeah, and rally, and those people without insurance would have a new house built for them. And there was another incident, which was I believe a murder suicide, and they had a couple of kids, and the community just came together. I mean, they did everything they could to take care of those kids, make sure they could keep the house, make sure that the people of this community are unlike anything I've ever seen. And boy, when there's a time of tragedy, do they come together as one.
Yeah.
And they might be divided by politics, they might be divided by race, by wealth, but Butte in a time of need comes together like no other. And so from that standpoint, I would have to agree that Butte is one of the nicest places. So if you take the people, the views, and how they come together, absolutely 100% I'm on board on.
Well said. No, you can definitely see the love in the community when the crap hits the fan and they come together.
Boy, if ever war breaks out, that's a good place to be, because that people are going to stand together.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think Butte is a throwback of how a lot of America used to be politically, where both sides of the aisle, Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever, Federalist, way back, they could still find common ground, and then they'd go and be friends.
Yeah.
Politics today in other places is more like civil war, unfortunately. But here, you can curse and vent and all this stuff, but then by Friday night they're having beers together and hanging out. You know what I mean? So they can have that disagreement politically, like you said, but they're still friends and family, and that's what counts most. And yeah, I read the article too, and it's largely structured around the O'Bill family and Mr. O'Bill's creation of the Our Lady of the Rocky,
which is
why he did it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful statue.
That's a beautiful story.
Yep.
That's gonna tug at the heartstrings from coast to coast. Whoever reads that,
it's not gonna make people move to Butte, and it's not gonna make people
It's a tremendous
open
story.
businesses in Butte. And Butte, does it mention in there? We've got no place to, no department stores to shop. We've got Walmart. We got we need other things. We need other grocery chains and things like that. It left off a lot of the negatives that
The plight that
are here as well, and it focused on the beautiful things about Butte, and boy, you can't argue with what they focused on, because it's amazing. And
they talked about the food pantry too,
Yeah.
and they talked about a lot of the community, and it is a beautiful community.
Yeah.
So the article's not wrong.
No, it's not. It's not. It just left out some of the problems that exist here. And if you're writing an article like that, that's not what you're focused on.
Reader's
anyway.
Digest does not cover crime statistics and cartel.
Right.
And
They're not
homelessness.
looking at that stuff,
Oh,
and
that's
so.
not what
But
they
yeah,
are.
I love living in Butte. But I do wish we had more places to
The
shop.
Time magazine covered it.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the community, well, they can't disagree with that, because they're on Butte 411 constantly saying, we wish we had this, we wish we had that. And I think they're all good wishes. Everybody wants to have, whether it be Kohl's, a Target, whatever your thing is, you want to have more opportunity that, to find bigger stores like a Home Depot or Lowe's. People think we need those, and I don't. But again, I think we've got the small businesses in town, but it would be nice to go get, find a swimsuit in town, or we lost, we don't have a lot of places to buy shoes and things now, especially with Bob Ward's going out of business.
Yeah.
So little things like that, but
They're coming.
Yeah.
They're coming. That was announced earlier this week, and of what's coming.
Hey, I'll take the Chick-fil-A and the Chipotle.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm looking forward to a little Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A action. They got really good tea.
Yeah, they do have good iced tea, and
Yeah. But look, again, back to the marathon, not the sprint. No matter what, 4 more years, the entire landscape, including the political landscape,
It's going to be completely
will
different.
be completely
Yeah,
different
yeah.
regardless. So, and again, I hope and pray that it doesn't become a Bozeman.
Yeah, we don't want that.
And I don't believe that it will, because
don't
there's the
either.
reasons Bozeman's Bozeman, and it's specifically that place. There's lots of other reasons that we're not going to go into. Take another podcast and speak on that, but I don't believe this ever will be. But some welcome changes, proper employment opportunities, a lot of things that are needed here will be good for the community.
Right.
And it helps get it stronger, along with you draining the swamp and getting rid of the drugs and a lot of the other issues on one hand, and the other hand is amenities coming in. I mean, that's a winning combination right there for the future of Butte.
Right.
All right, so we covered Reader's Digest, and we all agree it's a good article, but it's not Time Magazine. We're not
Right.
covering the plight of the ground zero here. It's the beauty of the place, which we all see that. That's why we live here.
Right.
And all right, so you're a guy from Kansas. Did you know you were from Kansas?
I did.
Okay.
Well, actually, that's wrong, because if they want to get technical, it would be a guy from Texas.
Texas, that's
that
right.
Was raised in Kansas.
You're a Texan.
And raised in Kansas. And what the hell that has to do with anything, I don't know.
We're neighbors, brother, because I was born next door to Texas. So, I mean, we're...
Why does that matter? See, that's the whole we're playing on this he's not from Butte thing. And
Yeah, that's 100% what it is.
And that there's nothing more that needs to be said about that than that was his way of saying, well, remember, I'm from Butte, and I'm born and raised in Butte, and this guy is from Kansas. And I think that, did he say I'd been out of law enforcement
21
for
years.
Okay,
And,
so
and deals in fear and misinformation.
yeah, we're not dealing. We've already dealt
I
with
know
those
we
two
did.
things. So
We
the
beat that to
21 years, my departments 21 years ago were more progressive than what exists here now. And things that we were doing 21 years ago have not yet made it to Butte, Montana. So those are things, and yes, I'm still very much in touch in the law enforcement community. I have been ever since I got out of it. Through the fire service stuff, through even working search and rescue during Hurricane Katrina and all of those things. I've kept very close friendships with those people. I know what's going on in law enforcement. I know, what's working, what's not working, both at the state and federal level. Or even local, state, federal. I've got connections
Right.
in all of those. So being out for 21 years, and you look at my policies and things that I'm going to do compared to his, and you would think that he's been out of law enforcement for 21 years and not me. And so yeah, that's all I got to say about that. And so the public knows, to be sheriff, you don't have to have any law enforcement experience. That's not a requirement to be the sheriff. And there are sheriffs all over this country that are going to get elected or are currently in office that came in with no law enforcement experience. So there's absolutely zero requirement of that. But I do have the experience, and I do have policies that are going to work, and I do have another thing that he doesn't have, which is buy-in from his department.
Right.
So,
Right, 100%.
So yeah, that's enough said about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's what it takes to be a good leader, right? It happens to presidents. It happens to prime ministers in other countries. It happens to, senators, Congress, House of Representatives, everybody. You come in and you surround yourself and bring in people who make you a better leader.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how that's
you
done.
bring in people that are smart. You think, for 1 second, do I think that I know more than Dan Murphy or Steve Homer? And while I'm talking to them and while we're texting back and forth, of course I know more than they do. In reality, that's why I put those people in that place.
Of course.
They're smarter than me. They know more than me. They know the insides and outsides of the department. They know the town of Butte better than I do.
Right. They know this market.
Yeah. So that's why I chose them.
They're indispensable.
Right. That's why I chose those people. Now, I'm gonna regret saying that on here right now, because I'll have to hear it from those guys later that I finally admitted that they know more about me. But truth be told, that's why they are.
They're an expert opinion. I would have done the same thing.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's why I put him there. If I could have brought somebody from a sheriff in Kansas that would have come out here. I could have brought a couple people from the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department area out here that want to come out here and put them in charge. That wasn't what I wanted to do, because then I think if you do that, then you do cause, or you cause a lot of concern within the members of the department, because then they're like, oh boy, what's going to happen? We don't really know this guy, and we don't know.
Well, you sink all morale.
Yeah, you don't.
Whatever's left of morale,
right?
You finish it off there, because they're like, who's this? Person.
That's exactly why
what
I chose
a jerk.
him.
He brought his own team in, and he's pushing us out.
Yeah, and I didn't want it to be viewed that way.
And you did that's really great job.
Yeah, I picked the people that were here, that were respect. I didn't go around and just say from day one that before I decided this, that, you know what, I'm going to pick Steve Homan.
Right.
Didn't happen that way. I talked to a lot of officers. I talked to a lot of businesses. I did have conversations with Steve, but I wanted to get the buy-in from the officers from the community that what I was seeing from Steve is also what they were seeing from him. And once I got that confirmation from people from within the department and from the outside, is when I asked Steve, hey, I basically said, hey, the things we've talked about, I'm ready to go ahead and make that call that I want you to be second in command.
Right.
Murph was a whole different situation. Murph, I met with him, and just basically because he had been there for so long. He had seen several administrations. He knew what was going on, and I had no plans for Dan other than him telling me right from the first time we met, I'm gone. I'm gone at the end of this year, and good luck to you. Basically, good luck, and I wouldn't want to be you. And you've got a mess. It was over months of talking, running by the courthouse, seeing Dan, talking to Dan, or over a phone call or a text or whatever, that I really started to see that Dan is a smart guy, and not just in law enforcement. Dan's good with people. Dan has so many connections in law enforcement outside of Butte.
He's beloved across the state in other states.
Yeah.
He really is.
And it was like, Dan, you need to think about staying. I want you to stay. And I think one time I kind of said that. He's like, well, he didn't slam the door on me like he had the previous times.
He warmed up to it.
Yeah, and so then I was kind of like, Dan, come on, man, I got a position for you in the administration that I need you to run with. And he basically, well, I told you from the get-go that I was done, and I told my wife I was done, and these are the plans that we made, and I need to. He probably doesn't know this. I'm probably gonna get in trouble for this, but he said he got to talk to Jim.
Right.
Well, Mike kind of foresaw that was going to happen, and Mike had kind of been, or me, I'd been.
I think you should speak in third person.
Yeah, I like that. I kind of been. I'm trying to save myself from Dan, because I kind of.
I like it.
I may have put the bug in Jen's ear, around the same time I was getting Dan. So then I got him, but well, you know, Jen said, well, you know, that's going to be, I'll let Dan make that decision. So I kind of knew, but then he kind of went radio silence for a week or two.
He's probably thinking about it.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he sends me a text and says, I'm all in.
Right.
And that was when I knew. I mean, I'm like, okay, we've got something good now. We've got something really, really good, and we now I have the people in place that we can make the changes that need to be made, both internally and externally outside the department. And then I've got connections with good connections here in Montana with some federal agencies through Dan. You know, we can tackle the sex trafficking issue that's going on, which we're not capable of without Dan's help. Dan and Jen are experts in that. Yeah. And I did admit this one to Dan, that I know nothing about that. So if somebody says I've been out 21 years and I don't have the capability of handling the sex traffic issue, I don't. I wouldn't know where to start on it, and that's why Dan is where. That's why Dan was asked to be in that, because he knows it, and he's got the resources inside and outside of Butte, in the state of Montana and outside the state of Montana, to really make sure that we're doing everything possible from our end to handle that. And that's going to be one of Dan's babies, is Dan, fix this. You know, this, you come up, you tell me what we need to do. I'll make sure we got the funding to do it, you know. And
well, there's all kind of, and you said the funding word, but there's tons of funding for this from the federal level, grant money.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a huge problem in America. So
there's been lots of money.
But Washington's cutting checks pretty quick
to fix
those
issues. As far as Steve, you know, he's got, you know, he's got a good reputation within the department. He's well liked. He's super likable guy. He's got a phenomenal reputation in town. The guy's loved.
Lots of people told me great things about him.
He's a smart guy. He's got lots of info, lots of connections with the canine programs, and you know, we need to increase we need to increase that. So we can't just have one dog, you know, because that dog's, I'm just assuming, I don't know, maybe he's working days, maybe working nights, I don't know. But if he's not working, then he's not on call. So technically he doesn't have to answer his phone. And so some of the officers say, well, you know, we need more dogs to have on each shift, you know, to have access to a dog on each shift. And that way we're not trying to get a hold of somebody who's in dead sleep and doesn't hear their phone go off, which would be like me. So that, you know, we're going to increase that program. And again, that's already been told. Now, again, the dogs we can get for free. You know, I think we can get the food donated as well, which is another big expense. And then we've got the training of the officers with the dog, the vet care and things like that. But we're going to add.
Those are always department expenses.
Yeah, we're going to add dogs to it.
You have to have dogs.
And I mean, they're invaluable. And you know,
to search and rescue,
to find the drugs, to find seizures, people, to find lost people.
They're fantastic.
I mean, they can do so many more things and cover so much more ground. I mean, you can put one dog out there to search for a person. He's going to cover more ground than the 8 officers can, and he's going to do it in, you know, 3/4 of the time. You know,
I mean, plus the dogs are good optics with children and families. You can take them to events. People go up to him.
And again, that was one of the reasons Steve's so involved in so many events in town. You know, he can help, you know, us get into them and be seen and be involved in all those, and you know, and he's got a good head on his shoulders when it comes to, unfortunately, disciplinary issues, which undersheriff normally handles those. And you know,
any corporation or
right,
government entity has that
he's
problem.
going to have to do it, and I trust his, you know, his judgment and the opinions and whatever he thinks needs to be done. You know, I'm sure he'll come to me and say, you know, Mike, this is what I feel needs to be done, and you know, we'll run that. You know, we'll of course, you know, talk to Dan on those things as well, and just get everybody's and the three of us, I know, you know, are we always going to agree on everything? No, but we have a good enough relationship that we will all come to the same conclusion, and that's why those people were chosen, and I haven't looked back. You know, I haven't doubted I haven't doubted myself since I made those decisions. You know, that these are the people that I want, and I want them here through my entire, you know, career. Now, will I? You know, and maybe Dan will change. Maybe he'll sit there and say, you know what, I'm enjoying what I'm doing again. I'm making a difference, and I'll stay around till Mike's gone. You know, or maybe one of them will then at some point decide they want to be sheriff and take my job. That's, you know, that's fine too. Good.
Well, you're here to clean this up and upright the ship. And, you know, I think that, you know, 15, 20 years from now, when you step down as sheriff.
No.
30 years, 35 years from now. No, I think that, Mike, you know, I think this was, I'm glad that you spoke to these issues that we talked about today. Because so often in politics, there'll be accusations made, and then the other candidate gets a chance to answer it, and instead they turn it into word salad and redirect it like that's their job, like they're paid to redirect it. They'll avoid all these accusations because they're terrified of saying the wrong thing. And I asked you pointed questions verbatim, and you answered them. So all the listeners out there on both sides of the field now can hear that, hey man, this is what he had to say about it. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to turn votes your way or against Ed. It's just Ed made a very public accusations.
Oh, yeah.
And you answered them now. And these are not BS. There's no misdirection or anything in it. And, you know, we surround ourselves with supporters and officers, not necessarily cops, that brought these issues to the table, brought awareness, brought up changes that need to be made, and we speak to that. We're not making it up out of thin air.
We wouldn't know about these issues.
I don't know. How would we know?
If it wasn't for the officers
coming forward
right. and saying, you know, this is what's going on. And again, I know they're trying to find the leaks within their department.
Oh, those guys are toast if Ed wins.
But they can't.
They're going to be working security.
Well, no, but they can't. The thing is like, it's there's no leaks. There's a faucet running.
Yeah, that's a broken pipe.
There's a broken pipe running, and I think good luck finding them because it's, you know, everybody's had enough, and now they're hoping that come November 6th they wake up and know that the nightmare's over.
Yeah, and there's no nightmare before Christmas.
And if it doesn't happen, you know, hey, look, we're going to know that we did our best, and we opened up some eyes, and we brought awareness to the issues, and in the end, you know, that's all we can do. You can do your best, and, you know, see where the chips fall at the end. And again, you know, I had somebody reach out to me, what are you going to be doing election night? And, you know, we want to come hang out with you. And I'm like,
no, you disappointed me with that too.
Yeah, I know. I'm still sticking to it. I think I changed. I think I'm gonna go to bed early, but I think I'm probably gonna drive around, listen to some old country music, and pick up signs until it gets dark. Yeah.
I'll leave done with it.
No, I want to be. It'll give me something to do. Just relax and know, because at that point you know it's over. I mean, you know, you don't have any more events you have to do that for the next few weeks, and you can just kind of relax and enjoy yourself.
We'll have the campaign party somewhere. You don't have to be there.
Well, you guys can have a campaign party. I'm telling you,
we're gonna throw confetti. We're gonna Buffalo Trace will be flowing like a river.
Oh, this is what I'll do. I'll probably wake up like at 5 o'clock in the morning, look at my phone, and be like,
"Have it toasted."
Yeah, we did it, or no, we didn't, and I'll go feed my horses. My day's not going to change. I'll get up, and irregardless how it goes, the first thing I'm going to do is let the dogs out. The next thing I'm going to do is go feed horses.
Well, those of us that support you will have to have a campaign party. We need a life-size cardboard cutout of Mike Gage.
Jeez. Yeah, you move him around, but like a weekend at Bernie's type deal.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're going to be out picking up signs to keep your mind, I understand that. That's a lot of pressure and stress and worry. I think you're going to win. I think that, in my closing thoughts, I think Ed, and again, this is my own opinion. I think Ed, you know, has had a long, storied career, and he had good intentions. Okay, I've never met the man. I've only seen and heard and watched his videos and things like that. And And again, people around town have known him for a million years, and they all say, I always say this, he's a fun guy, he's this, he's that, he's a sweet guy, he's this, he's that. And I'm sure he is, whatever, I've never met him. But I think that, in my opinion, it's not just something I'm pulling out of thin air in the BS realm. He's out of touch with the community. He's out of touch with his role as a sheriff. He's out of touch with the problems that we have. He's out of touch with not just the city, but the county. Okay, he's out of touch with politics. He's out of touch with the whole picture. And I don't think that means he's a horrible human being that's out of touch and he should be punished for it. No, it's just when you've fallen out of touch in the political spectrum. The political spectrum goes beyond. We went to high school together. We played on the football team together. We went to prom together as double date. Right. That goes well beyond all those family and community ties. He's got a job to do that supersedes all personal emotion. Okay. If you were in this role for years and you were out of touch, I know you. I don't know him, so I don't have the chance to tell him this, right? But I'd sit down with you and say, hey, Mike, why don't we think about popping smoke here and letting you get back to going rodeo announcing and let somebody else run? Because that's the right thing to do when you're out of touch. Because you can't regain touch, so to speak. It just means that you've hit that point of burnout, or time has moved beyond your capabilities as a leader. Because all leaders come to an end.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could go through history from the beginning of time to now. All leaders have a shelf life, and I think that, and it's nothing against them, and it's not making them look bad. I think that he should go quietly in the night with this election, kind of like Michael Jordan. You remember when he left the Bulls and then he came back to the Washington Bullets?
Yeah.
And he sucked.
Yep.
And it was an embarrassment to his career. When he was a Bull, freaking greatest basketball player known to man, comes back. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl with the Bucks, came back another season, shouldn't have, sucked terrible, right? Those are just sports analogies, but leaders are no different. When you're out of gas and you're out of time, you're out of gas and you're out of time. Have respect for your 35 years. And don't make it a personal thing because this new guy's in town. There's a new sheriff in town from Kansas by way of Texas. And he wants to change things. Don't be afraid of the change. Embrace it, because the evil side of society, the crime, has already created its own change. Now we need a positive change to offset that. Let it happen now. But if it turns into a marathon and not a sprint and you don't win, let's say, God forbid, it's going to happen in 4 years. But isn't it better to address the problem in the present and not have twice the work to do in 4 years?
Yeah, well, and it'll be me or it'll be somebody else. But in 4 years, it's not going to matter because there's a lot of people that just won't be here anymore. And there'll be a lot of people that have moved in from the outside, and they're going to see these problems, and they're going to want them fixed, and so
absolutely. You'll have all new political faces. What I'd like to see is some of the old political faces shaking hands with you into new political faces. So it's
that would be a dream come true if you could do that.
The old guard would just realize that you can control the narrative and the transition. If you cherry pick and bring in locals that have been here for several years that aren't necessarily from here, okay, it's a much better, smoother, traditional foundation and change if you do it that way.
Right.
Versus being invaded by, we wake up and there's 30 new politicians trying to run from California that showed up at Butte.
That'd be a nightmare.
Now that's a complete fire sale.
Yep.
And now the old guard of Butte loses complete control overnight. And then all of a sudden you have all this new crazy stuff popping up here, versus make room at the table for some of these new guys that have been here. They're not that new, but they have like-minded views. Do it that way quick before there's an invasion of outsiders that you lose all control, and it's a complete CF.
Yeah.
It's a lot more political and strategic if you do it the way I'm suggesting.
Absolutely. So, well, that's in this because I have to go get coffees and try to make up for locking somebody out of the house last night. So
Yeah, that's gonna.
Yeah.
It's gonna be an awkward weekend for you. Nah, it'll be over.
No, it'll be over because she's got to go race. So tonight I can lock the doors. I don't have to worry about you just get a habit of locking the door. And apparently I was really tired last night, so I just locked the door.
Well, give her a key, Mike.
Yeah,
give her a key. That'll make it all that. Put a little bow in the key.
Said, here, I'm sorry. You don't ever have to worry about me doing it again. And
put the key.
I don't know why she just didn't come through the dog door. She's small enough; she could have fit right through there. My big German Shepherd could have went through there.
You're suggesting that your significant other go through the dog. You're making it worse. You're
making it cut. I mean, that could have
making it worse.
Something she could have had.
Making it no. Just put a house key in her coffee and surprise her with it. Just don't let her choke on it.
Yeah, that'd be my
be in the bottom.
Like, oh, good lord. Well, we'll see you guys next weekend, same time, same place, and have a good week. And hopefully it'll warm up a little bit, and we'll see you next Friday. And again, have a safe week, enjoy it, and go Chiefs.
Stay warm out there. Yeah, they have a bye week. So
no, they play this week. They play the Niners this week.
That's right. All right, go Chiefs and their refs. Stay warm, everybody. We'll catch you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.